Alright, it's now the 8th, it's almost midnight again. I was actually having issues with. I can't bring myself to do Blender. Again, it's because I didn't know what to do. It's again, I didn't know why. But thankfully, 2 a.m. just made a video about, I guess Rosetta? Was it? Hold on, let me see. There's a new one about Rosetta. Let's see here. Is that who I think it is? Okay, history. Main monitor. Yeah, it was this one of the Rosetta stream, right? And then it was watching this that I realized that I am overthinking stuff. I'm doing stuff that not even the professionals will do. Because if you see there, like where is the like the shade in the nose? Where's the like cheeks and stuff? It's not there. Even though women usually have the blush on the cheeks, you can see a tiny bit on the nose. But the main thing is the wee bit of black though to point it out, and that just made me thinking, going, what am I doing the texturing for? Do I need to do the texturing? And it's a no. The main reason for texturing is for adding detail to the last topology parts. Like let's just come here or something here. Like the boots, for example. Like I was doing the texturing to try and like outline the topology change. But honestly, as you can see, like if it's not there, I mean, you'll still see that without the texture. The texture doesn't need to actually be there for that part. However, if someone did want a texture, they could just make out of like a plane and just put it in there. Like I've seen some people do gloves, like the tight fitting clothes, stuff like that. They just textured on instead of actually doing topology and stitching too. I mean, you would want to do stitching, so they just textured on. So I've been using texturing on the areas which would be fine without it in the first place. As you can see, the wee bit of nose. I mean, it's not wrong to do that, I'd say, but it's unnecessary. And most of the time, they will just texture paint. They will just do the bit on the nose. If I scroll down here, over here, like most of the time, they will. Watch. It's way too big. A lot of the time, they'll just have like a single line there, just to like a standard. But mine is like a lot broader nose, so it I get well, it has the topology there to stand there for that. I actually don't like the nose. Can I even do this? Actually, hold on. Usually have the noses like pointed sort of thing. So normally they put the texture mode and then do it for the ear. Where's the other picture now? Yeah, something like that. Let's see if I can find a part here. Why is he like the side profile? Get up here again. So like the point there, like it's darn, like my nose is not like that. So I think I would actually need to. Yeah, my nose is like going up too fast. So I should actually put a thorn, shouldn't I? even even now these look a bit better. hmm The curve is it's still way too thick as supposed to be. Yeah, but still, that's a small improvement. It's supposed to be. I wanted to just talk about the fact that the shading it says I'm doing here, like they don't really do that in their models. They usually use the shaders, or I'm doing stuff that even professionals won't do, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So yeah. I should take a step back. If they're not doing it, then why would I do it? Learn from them first, and then if I really feel like I want to do it, I'll do it. But want to get at least a tenth of their model thing. Something that I think looks all right, like an MMD model. And I really should be like if it was to go a bit more like again, shit in here. If I was to go here, they would normally just like texture on like the front part there, or they would texture on like the shoulder blades at the back. But since I went into my way and actually give it topology, so with just the shader would actually be putting that kind of in for me for myself. But I'm still gonna do it just to emphasize it. I want to do this part actually. I just want to do it first, just to see if everything I'm thinking of is thing. So shader node. Okay, so the body hasn't been. No, that's really the body. How do you? Okay, this is gonna be interesting. Like, I want to add another one for the body because it's all the one mesh. So how do you do that? Actually, holy shit! Because there's only one principal BDSA. What the hell am I listening to? So I've got a video here. Let's go. Let's do it here. It's just kind of an old one, but it was the first one that showed up. So let's just see if it is what I'm after. So.
In this video, I'll teach you how to add and edit multiple materials for one object in Blender. As always, it's going to be quick and easy, so let's get started. Okay, so to demonstrate this, I'm going to use a monkey mesh. So press X to delete. We're going to select the free texture down and press D. And then next, we can go into rendered view. And we need some lighting, so let's select the light, turn it into a sun. I'm going to set the strength to 5 for now, and then press R twice to rotate freely. And then next we can add a second material with a new texture. So let's go into wireframe view, select the monkey, and then add a new material. And then we're going to press tab in the viewport, and then B to box select. And now we can select.
Again, I've overcomplicated it. I think. Yeah, it's just. I'm an idiot. So this is the shade node for this one, and then the actual other rest of the body should be in this one. So body texture. So if I go back to texture paint. What I want for the hands and feet separate? No, that's what this looks like for now. Ah, okay. Yeah, I'll do the hands and feet separate. So this is the left leg. Okay, this confuses me. So it's body texture. Why the so, I don't know. Yeah, see, it's on here, right? And if I go over to face texture, so how the fuck do I get that separate? Like, I don't want it to be in the body texture. I want it to be in just the face texture.
Where we want the new texture to be assigned to. Okay. And then click assign. And then when we go into rendered view, you can see that the new material is now assigned to the other part of the monkey. So let's add a texture to this part as well. So Control Shift T. And then I'm going to add another texture. I'm going to select all of them, and all of the nodes will be set up automatically once again. And as you can see, we now have two textures on the same object. And then we can go into the UV editor to edit the textures on the object. For example, you can press A to select all, and then G to grab to move the texture, and S to scale to change the scale of the texture. And then you can press Ctrl I to select the unselected vertices, which means the other texture, at least in this case. And then we can change how we want the texture to be projected to the object. Okay.
So it's the same texture but different fucking colors. I don't know. I'm
and
confused.
then select a specific part, and then press R to rotate, for example, so that you can align it with the rest of the texture.
In this Blender tutorial, I'm going to show you how to bake multiple materials into the same texture maps. So I have this throwing hatchet 3D model right here, and as you can see, the top of the hatchet has this metal material with these metal textures, and I also have a bit of procedural nodes, and then also the wooden handle has these textures
Now
right here.
you see, he's clicking that, and it's clicking as a completely different object. So it's not the same object. So how do you have it on the same object but different UVs? Where is Blender? Better. Everything I do, I get stuck every freaking time. Something probably simple as well. Okay, so I'm on the thing. Texture, character. I just want them to have their own fucking texture maps. What is so hard about that? I don't. That's when I realized that I've got the back parts over here. No, that is actually the hand parts. Well, they're not supposed to be there either, but whatever. Oh, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Oh, that turned out like he wants to be on the hold on. That would turn that off for. Yeah, you have two UV maps. So if I do it again, link, 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 bank, bank. So how do you reset a UV map? UV set. Okay, that's not exactly what. I need to delete it. Blender delete UV map from the UV map. That's not that makes sense. Delete the UV map. That doesn't make no sense at all. Resetting isn't deleting, so I don't think it's. I don't think it's resetting as I'm supposed to do. Okay, so I might have fucked up. No, 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 no. Or is it? I don't know. No, okay. I thought that's what it was, but it's not, it is it, and it isn't it. It is it because it is what I want, but it isn't it because I don't know how to fucking separate it. Yeah, different UV maps for each. So it is there. It is there, but it's not using that UV map. It's not using that UV map. I click on this one. This is using. This is body texture. It should be face texture now. God damn it, you sons of bitches. So this is the one where I'm supposed to click again, hit me, and then did the mode, and okay, so I'll select that, select that, select that now. Select that, 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 select that. Grab you, get the frick out of there. What are you? Select that, select that, select that, select that. Grab you, you can go up there too. This is the for ear, okay. Import the eye, the mouth, the back of the ears. Yeah, backdate. Okay, so that is there. So how do I? Why does it not change the fucking? Left arm. So left arm, right leg over here. Left leg. So are these two legs together? Just look at so left leg. Like, cause anything, grab, move over. You can get out here for now. Grab, move over. Actually, how do you get the UVs to overlap? Okay, how do you get UVs to overlap? Because I want like the arms to be overlap the same. Because I want the same 12 in each. To get UVs to overlap. In 4.0. If your video looks like a charming illustrator, that won't be see. I mean, I don't want you want to stretch it. However, if you want these to be identical, you need to achieve this by unwrapping in a strict order. The first one. Oh, okay. So hold on. Sorry. Somebody said something very interesting there. So if I do this and I select this and I go this and then I go Shift S, selection to cursor. No, okay. That's. I was kind of hoping it would just move it over to it and. What I did here? Maybe it's been so. Shift S. Okay, so if I was to do that and then rotate it. Oh. How to get left and right leg UVs to overlap? Okay, now back up there. Anyway, yeah, just telling other people now there's someone's asking for the bloom ish Chicago that we're doing before, which is why you're wondering if it was on the composicy, showing them that it's been moved there now, which is kind of annoying. Yeah. Anyway, no, I was gonna do the texture. I'm gonna do the texture now because I want to figure out how to do overlap to make it cleaner. That make it cleaner, like lower the space, it'll allow me to enhance the areas, and I might even be able to put the hands and stuff into that one mesh instead of having that separate mesh for the hands. So again, there's another issue to need to do. But I'm gonna go back here and try and get the hair to be curly again. So it was actually 4.0. I thought it was 5.0. So what are we doing here? Right, we need a curly hair. I've been thinking of a few things. Get the follow a path curve maybe. So if I was to do this and path curve. Go to this one. Shift A curve path. Rotate 90 degrees to the T, scale it down. Selection to casa object. Object set origin to theta casa as well. Dedicated that again. There. The vertices. Subdivided. Subdivided. So now I've got this in. If I've got no steps, to this now. Okay, so do the curve. What's this curve called? Curly path. Just doing that for now. So if I could go back to this. That is what's good. Okay, so that works. Kind of what I wanted. So yeah, okay, so that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. This is also a path. So I've got this one. ray modifier on. So I was to do that, and I was to delete these ones. Yeah, you see what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to do it so I get so would I continue dark? But no, that's not. So that's not gonna happen. So okay, so do this again. Delete. Versus. I'm gonna for screw modifier. Get screw up here, bruh. Here, okay, so. Hmm. Yeah, okay. Get to see him. He's trying to use the blame, which is not working. Huh. I can't. So I want it to be like an array or a screw, but I just do double dars. I just want. Make it longer if I want, make it shorter if I want. To follow the path. The path thing is simple. Like an array seems to work. Screw, trade screw. So why does screw do that? How do you screw? Hold on, I'm gonna go freaking find this out. Screw.
What's up,
What the fuck? Okay, so main monitor again, main thing now.
guys? Justin here with the CGEssentials.com, back with another Blender modifier tutorial for you. So in today's video, we're going to check out the screw modifier, which is basically a modifier designed to take a profile and rotate it along an axis in order to create an extruded shape. So we'll talk more about what that means in just a second, but for now, let's go ahead and just jump into it. Alright, so this modifier is a little bit different. So the way that the documentation talks about it is a little bit weird, because it talks about how you can take a profile object and create a helix-like shape. That's an interesting description to me, because you can do more than that with this modifier, so it's kind of odd, but we'll talk through exactly what it does and exactly why you should be using it. So first off, let's start by creating a simple shape. And I do want to note that I'm going to be using an add-on called Extra Objects in here in order to draw my lines. So that's built into Blender. Just make sure that you've enabled that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by just going to a straight on view right here. I'm just going to do a Shift A, and I'm going to add a single vertex. So we're just going to click on single vertex right here. And then in edit mode, make sure that you're in vertex select mode. And so now what we're going to do is we're just going to basically extrude this vertex to create a shape. So what we're going to do is tap the E key and extrude this along this axis, and I'm just going to extrude this in order to create a shape. I don't want to get too complicated with it for right now. We're basically just going to create a simple profile, and you can see my scales all wrong and all of that. It's not really that big of a deal for what we're trying to do. We're just going to create a fairly simple shape. Alright, good enough for what we're trying to do right here. So basically what we've done is we've created a shape that's made up of edges, right? So if we look at this, or we've created a line that basically runs between these vertices. Well, now we're going to tab back into object mode, and we're going to go down and we're going to apply
Is screw
to this object.
is
So,
screw basically going to extend the edge, like extruding it in a rotation? Is that what it is?
if I activate this, click on screw, you can see what this is going to do. Is this is going to take
It
this
is!
object, and it's going to basically
Oh my
turn
god,
it
that makes so much
around
sense.
this axis. So if we were to look at the wireframe, you can see how basically what it's doing is it's taking those edges that we drew, and it's just taking them along this Z axis right here in order to create this shape.
That's not actually
So
what
you
I
can
thought
use
it
this
was.
to create all sorts of objects that are basically like rotationally lathed like this. And so you can use this to turn things along an axis to create shapes. Let's take a look at some of the options that are in here. So first off, let's look at the axis options. So the axis option is probably going to be the most important thing because it's going to set the direction that this is being turned, right? So it's basically setting the axis that this is getting screwed or turned around. So if I select these different options, notice how I'm getting different results. And if you want to see what the object axes look like, you can go to your options and click on Effect Only Origins. And what that's going to do is that's going to pull up your object origin right here. And you can see that this is the z-axis, this is the y, and this is the x. So, for example, if your object had been rotated and it didn't align anymore with the model axes, you could use this to see what the object axes are. And so we'll talk about how to use an axis object in a minute, but there's also options in here for the angle. So right now this is being turned 360 degrees, right? But see how as I adjust this, this is affecting how far this object is turned. And there's some interesting things you could do in here with like keyframing this. So for example, you could keyframe this to 0, and then you could keyframe it again.
I wonder if
to
it gets the
value of
iteration. Iterations would be
360.
interesting.
So like this, if you wanted to like animate this, you could definitely do that as well. So just kind of a fun idea for an animation. So you can keyframe those values, but you can see how this is basically extruding this along that axis. And I'm going to go ahead
Right,
and
for
delete
I
my
can't
keyframes.
forget.
And so
give
this
them
next
that.
option is the screw option. And so basically what that means is that right now this is just turning this along this axis. However, if you were to use the screw option, you can see how what that's going to do instead is that's going to not only rotate this but also move this in direction while it's also rotating this. We'll talk more about this in a second. It's not really useful for this kind of object, but when we create a helix, it's going to be important. So iteration.
Oh, so I've got so many things here now for that one. So okay, cut this. So turn it off. Go back here. Right click. No, hold on. Object work. Right click. Convert to mesh. Okay. So then I would do that. Now go in here. Delete these vertices. And then what I would do is go to screw 9. Actually, I would kind of actually want this to be perfectly straight, so object set origin to geometry. There we go. Yeah, that would have been. I would have saved so much time. Go darn. Okay, so I'm gonna do that and do subscribe. Okay. So that is it's kind of what I'm after now. Yeah. Could be again. So how do I do the object to curly path? So if I was to like continue this here, so wireframe. There we go. Mm-hmm. So if I were to have that on, I could just do the screw there now. And then I could get this. Click it. If I click it, goddammit. Curve, so the curve to this one, and the object is for the path. Okay, so when I go into Edisco and I grab this. Kinda works. Is there a way to keep the volume preservation on this one? Hold on. I've just realized there's something else I could maybe do here. Hold on. Okay, so now that's here, so I can go back here and go to the screw thing here, and I can go to this, and I can move this iteration down to 4, which would be that, and then could I apply that and then add a new modifier, array modifier? Now that I've got a perfect thing for rotation, and then I do this and offset 0, Z 1, no, -1. Yeah, you kind of see where I was going with that. I think it's because I didn't have perfectly flat rotated. Yeah, that would be it. Because the object wasn't perfectly. Very interesting.
We'll talk about in a
I
second.
want to watch
Curious
this
how
video
many
too for
times
screw.
this
It's kind of
happens.
nice.
So, for example, notice how as I set iterations, that's going to rotate this around more and more. So again, not necessarily great for our wine glass example, but good for some other shapes that you can create. So now, let's add a new object. So let's do a Shift A, and let's add a circle. So I'm just going to add a circle. I'm going to move it over here, scale it down, and then let's rotate it along this axis right here. So what I've done is I've basically created a profile. Well, now let's add the screw modifier to this object. So first thing you can see is you're not really getting any kind of results at the moment. Let's start by adding a screw distance in here. And we may need to apply our rotation and scale. There we go. So applying your rotation and scale is going to be really important when you do this, just because it's going to set the base direction of this object. But you can see how if we select these different objects, what this is going to do is the same kind of thing where it's taking it and it's rotating it by 360 degrees and it's giving it a direction. However, it's not really giving us anything helpful, right? Like it's not really giving us a very good result. And so the reason for that is because this is using the object origin. so this little dot right here, as a base point for your rotation. And so a cool thing that you can do is you can adjust your object origin to a different point in order to get a better result. So let's do that thing we did before, where we go to our options, and we go to our transform, and we set this to affect only our origins. So what that means is now if I use a tool like the move tool, so if I tap G and I move this out, you can see how this is going to change the point that this is being rotated around, right? So initially it's being rotated around a point right here, but if I move my object origin over here, suddenly I'm getting a different result. So notice right now we're getting some weird distortion in here. That's because the origin isn't aligned with this point right here. So if we move our origin back over here so that it's aligned with this object, notice how once we align this, we're not getting that distortion in our shape anymore, and we're getting a much better helix. So you can kind of play around with this. So this is one of those things where it really is kind of a trial and error thing to do, just because it's just not super intuitive. But let's say we wanted this this helix to continue, we could just adjust the number of iterations in here up, right? So now we have a number of different iterations in here, and notice the number of steps is going to increase your resolution in here. So the more steps that we have in our object, the more detail we're going to get inside of our extrusion. So we're going to go out of effect only origins mode. You could also use this with multiple shapes. So let's say, for example, that we had multiple circles. So let's create a circle right here. Move it over. Let's tab into edit mode, scale it down, rotate it on this axis, like this. Let's just jump into vertical mode like this, and let's just duplicate it multiple different times, like this. So notice we made all of those changes in edit mode, so all of these are now in our model a bit.
Okay, yeah, okay. I like it. It's not what I thought it was, but I think it can make it work. The crazy way. It's I haven't aligned it properly. This is my fault. I'll align it properly next time. But yeah, I'm gonna stop here. It's midnight again. I do some stuff. Tomorrow's Monday. I gotta go shopping, so you ain't gonna get off. But yeah, that was definitely very, very nice. Very nice. Since I'm not too worried about the texturing anymore, because I didn't realize I was doing too much. I know, again, just to recap it. Let's get back here. So if I go to the layered, right? So if I go back to this, the body. So, like, a lot of topology is there. So normally, whenever I've actually looked at the models now, the Tudor pit at the end of the nose, and that's just to draw your attention to how far it comes out. There's no need to texture like these areas because they're there, and the shader will follow the topology to automatically do it. I don't have as good shaders then. That's why mine doesn't look as good. But they literally do not have any shading at all there at all. So there was no need to do the, if I go to texture paint, there was no need to go and do the what the fuck is it? Anyway, there was no need to. Why is that got? Why is the bloom there? From I don't know. So go back here, and I'm clicking this one. I'm clicking this one. See this one. I want the roughness. I want the face texture. Yeah. So this part here that I've did, so you can see the nose right here. The shader should do that automatically because the topology is there for to do it, and it's just doing work that shouldn't have to do. What I should be doing is you know, if it's one here, turn it around, and then separate the bird, and Hold on, I need to show it to that guy now. Hold on, what is... Right, okay, give me. Object. Anyway, yes, okay, so yeah, that's just output group image, view group image, render layers. Okay, I don't. So that's gone now. I think there. What am I doing? I said I was going to try and figure out how to overlap the UVs to take up space because it says I got here, so let's go into edit mode. It says, I want this and this to be perfectly overlined because I'm gonna have the same texture on each. I was gonna get off and do something for my friends or for example. Let's see if I can find out how to overlap left and right hands. UV map. Go better. How can I align and overlap repeat UV maps perfectly? Yeah, he figured it out. And his model looks really nice too, actually. Okay, so, I realized in viewport I need to make composition available. Other than that, my material has a mission which I put into specific pieces of the color and a camera like this. Oh, now okay, yeah, so okay, so you put composition on. And the place you did a mission, which I have kind of did. Okay, I'll do this. I just want to get this thing here now. I just want to get this to work, because that'll be. Grip orthoped. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Editor.
Yeah, let's cut that video up.
In today's video, I'm here. It's not there. So all you need to do now is it's a little bit different, but from here you're gonna render this image, and this is gonna be used in the future. So go over here to the section that says compositing, and select use nodes, and now Shift A and search for the viewer node. Alright, and put that just right here, and now connect these. Okay, so now you can see our backdrop is our render. But just so we can see it better, I'm just gonna close this and make a new section. Alright, so go to image editor and select the viewer node, and now you can see your cube on this side too. From here, all you want to do is press Shift A again, filter, and add the glare. And while holding Shift and right click, just go down right here, just like that. And now what you want to do is simply move down your glare option to right here, and it'll connect on both sides. And so as you can see, we have our bloom effect. But this doesn't look right because of our option right here. So instead of streaks, I like to use either fog glow or bloom. So even though it's called bloom, the fog glow honestly looks more like bloom. And as you can see, and then right here you can just mess around, you can change the size or whatever. And then I'm gonna show you guys bloom as well. Bloom is like OD. If you take the size down, it'll be dimmer. But it still looks, a little weird, you know what I mean? So I like to do fog glow, and also change your quality up to high. We'll take the size back up to like about 9. Alright, so once you go back to the layout section, so to make the bloom visible in the layout, just go up to here and select compositor. You can do camera or you can do always. So if I do always, you see my balloons there, but I like to do camera. And there we go. Got our balloon. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, also quick shout out to this guy. I didn't even know this was a thing until he commented this on my last video. But that's all for today's video.
Yeah, what I'm after. Yeah. Yeah. Screw it. Yes. But at least I got a better idea of what's going on there. So let's see if it's again. Okay, so end of there now. I can sidetrack the game. If I understood. See you next time.